a crazy amount of force has been applied against men. It's like since the 50s or so. And that force has done things to us such as keeping us trapped and hemmed in, and if we like let a fart wrong, the whole legal system's after us, and if a woman pops out a kid and says it's yours, and you get railroaded into child support, and then basically if you don't have the means to pay, they start taking away your licenses to do whatever, drive, do your business, and all that. And they call you a deadbeat dad, even though you are basically, your DNA has been stolen from you against your will. Anyway, that force has been compressing men and just winding us tighter and tighter, like on a medieval torturing rack, or any other force. You know, human beings, we can only take so much of this shit, and then basically we've been squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and trapped and confined. Our behavior is limited, and all of the things we do naturally are like sort of demonized. The fact that a guy is hot for a girl or is attracted to a woman, that's considered just wrong these days. and it's ridiculous. When I was young, when I was in my 20s, I mean, just asking a girl out or even trying to talk to her would sometimes, I just get this exasperated, angry response, and it's just it's just one of those things. We've just been twisted and compressed and like a gigantic spring, and it's been clicking tighter and tighter and tighter for like over the last 50 years, 60 years, and now some of that force is starting to escape, right? The men are no longer, we are wound about as tight as we can go, and now the spring is starting to slip, right? And it's starting to unwind, and that force that has been applied against men has to go somewhere, and some of it is going to result in dysfunction. But basically, men have been wound so tight and trapped and confined and just forced into a second class position of second class citizen. And now that force is starting to come loose because society can't wind it any tighter. And now they've tried that last little click, and then ping, it's starting to come loose. And that force has got to go somewhere. The force that's been applied against men has got to go somewhere. And some of it, as I said, is going to go into destructive, really seriously nasty, destructive, damaging things like that guy in Canada, but other parts of this just like Rod's videos, he calls it the backlash, and that describes it perfectly. It's a giant backlash that is directed in many different ways, in many different directions, and it's going to cause a lot of damage. And it's not damage that happens like all at once, right? But it's going to be a lot of damage, and probably about as much damage as a small nuclear war, only it will be spread out over like 30 or 40 years, over the next like 30, 40 years or so. It's already starting. Men, we're like this giant hurricane which has been spun up by Coriolis force and hot, basically force that's been applied against it, and it's in hurricane force, and it's just starting to hit the shore, and people are starting to notice that men are not buying into society the way we used to. We're not stepping up. We're not getting married. The marriage rate is low as it's ever been, and men are just walking away from crazy feminist-dominated institutions of higher learning, and they basically, they're throttling back their production now, and they're working away from women into getting into the trades, as I have, and much of that force, it's going to cause a lot of people not to be alive, basically. But instead of killing millions of people, right, it will simply, MGTOW is just part of this. It will simply act to prevent a lot of people from ever being born, right? And that is, I suppose, it's similar effect to killing millions of people. Millions of people simply just will not be born. Millions of marriages will not occur. Millions of women will be getting cats, and then when they die, they will be eaten by their cats, and they will be lonely and sad and everything, and it is not my problem. Men, when we're deliberately single, we tend to be happier. Women, when they're not deliberately single, they are less happy. And basically, it's not my problem, and this is a giant hurricane-sized backlash, which is just starting to hit the shore. The palm trees are being shook around. We are just part of a very an empire which has lasted as long as it's going to. It's at the end of its run. America will continue to exist in one form or another, but the great world-spanning American empire, that's going to go away probably in the next 20 years or so. And it's unfortunate, but it's just one of those cycles which happen in history. Massive productivity of men, greater government, feminists take over, and they start asking way too much. They enslave men, basically, and then then men check out and step back, and then the whole thing comes crashing down. And this is something that can't be stopped. It is too big. The storm is too big. Nobody can stop this. Nobody can even get in front of it. Nobody can even steer this thing. It is what it is. And the only thing individual people, you can, if you're like me, you can agree with it. Or some of these people, these feminists, they can disagree with it, or they can scream at it until their voice breaks, but the storm can't hear them. And even if the storm could hear them, it will not change a thing. It wouldn't care, So basically, it's going to be pretty impressive. It's going to do about the same amount of damage as a small nuclear war, less property damage, but there will be property damage. And part of that war, part of that storm is men stepping back, no longer having nearly as much buy-in to society. We don't jump in there to protect society. We don't jump in there to protect women, as we discussed the other day. And we just do what we can, and accumulate enough wealth to check out of society early, throttle back on our work, and just earn enough to make ourselves comfortable until we take our own little dirt nap, right? So yeah, I'm thinking MGTOW, and people who aren't even aware, who aren't even aware that they are MGTOW, they are part of the storm. And this thing is going to be it's hitting shore now, and very soon people are really going to start to notice. I mean, people are mentioning MGTOW all over the place in videos, and even on conventional TV. I see snippets of it on YouTube. I don't own a TV. And they're actually mentioning us. And right now they don't understand it, and they're like scratching their heads, and they're asking feminists, what's going on with this? They didn't even think of asking us. Not my problem, though. They don't need to know. I don't care if they know. The storm will do what it does. And the only thing we should do is plan for it, right? If we plan for this, what's happening, we can sort of dive out of the way and prevent this, and that way the storm will not run over us like a steamroller. There are trends in society, things you can invest in that will be sort of protected or even pushed up by the storm. So maybe cat food, cat food stores. So yeah, I'm thinking MGTOW is part of a storm which is going to do a lot of damage before that force is equalized. Force has been applied against men, and now that force has to equalize. I mean, it's being released now, and it's gonna. The only thing that will stop it is when the forces that caused it to happen have been expended, and I'm not sure what that is going to do, or what form that's going to take. It's going to be interesting to watch it all unfold. And that's, one of the reasons why, one of the things that I do to pull my money out, Bitcoins, and I still own a little bit of silver, but mostly it's young people, they're buying Bitcoins. Young people are not buying silver, pretty much, or gold. So, I guess that's all. Don't get married.